Alright, so you're thinking you're not good enough as a musician. Well, let me tell you, you're absolutely not alone with this. I've been making music and playing concerts since I've been 7 years old, so it's been like 23 years now, so I have my fair share of this feeling. And I believe it's part of the process if you want to be really great at something. Over the years, I tried to figure out how to conquer this feeling and to overcome it, and I definitely have a couple of tips for you guys. And by the way, if you're new here, my name is Kevin Andre, this is KA Productions, I do a whole bunch of tutorials and all that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in also this kind of topic, because I believe it's super important for us as musicians, please hit the like button and also subscribe because more is on its way. Thank you so much for doing that, it helps a lot. So the first thing to overcome this feeling is to find out where this feeling is coming from. And we could get super in-depth with this and all this psychology behind it, but I tried to keep it as simple as possible. Because if you want a scientific explanation, there are probably better YouTube channels than this one, but I think it's important for us as humans to understand for ourselves and how to make it accessible for us personally. And I think by talking about the perspective from a musician, it definitely helps a lot. So let me tell you a quick story. When I was 15, I found this amazing jazz pianist and I was like, I need to be exactly like her. I want to do exactly the things this musician does. So I grinded and worked my ass off to be able to do all this kind of things. But along the journey of learning my instrument, I had a lot of peers that were really good and I always were envious of them. Luckily, I didn't have any malice, so that actually motivated me to be better than I can be. It pushed me, actually. But still, I had this weird feeling, like, doesn't make any sense for me to go on. This was one of the first times this feeling came up, and I also remember it coming up a couple of times after that. And the most memorable one was at college. I enrolled in jazz piano studies, performance major, so I had a lot of competition. And I always wanted to do my own music, even though I wasn't a jazz performance major. But I always wanted to do like pop, R&B, hip hop, and also produce. So I always was kind of the odd one, but I also had like a unique selling point. But this feeling came up and it was so bad at one point that I definitely sought help from one of my teachers. I asked a whole bunch of questions like how should I go about this feeling and how should I go about like my career and all that kind of things. He said, try to find your own voice. Try to find something nobody can criticize you for. And up to this day, this is the best advice I could have gotten. Because if you're so confident in what you do, nobody else can actually criticize you. And that makes you so strong because you have like your own little niche you fit into. And actually throughout my college years, I started to reading up on psychology and how to like be more self-confident and all that kind of things. And because I did that, I actually learned to be really confident in what I do and actually overcome that feeling because this feeling is not coming up anymore. And now I'm in Los Angeles. So you might think it would be like way worse because you have so many people which are amazing. And it's true, people out here are absolutely crazy. They're amazing. But I never feel malice. I never feel envious. And that is because I feel confident in what I do. But still, where does this feeling come from? And from what I experienced, I can tell you, it definitely comes from deep within, from your own self-confidence. And if you're not self-confident, well, that is where the problems arise. So generally speaking, if you're in certain situations and this feeling comes up, try to go inside yourself. Try to listen to yourself and see, why am I feeling this way? And the more you think about it, you can pinpoint where this feeling comes from. And once you identify that trigger, you can actually work on it. So from my perspective, I have my friend, a fellow piano player, and he's absolutely amazing. So every time he's on stage and I'm actually in the room, I feel really bad. So in that moment, I try to listen to myself and feel what is happening. And I feel this bad feeling, but actually that is where I have to start thinking about, okay, I am my own person. I'm self-confident. I have my own style of music. Every person has something individual that nobody can take away from them. So even though he's amazing at his craft and maybe he has better technique and all that kind of things, he's his own person and I'm my own person. So things I have, he can't take that away from me. And by default, we're already different. And that is actually a very good thing. You guys have to realize you're different than anyone on this world. So this difference is what lets you stand out. And it's your job to leverage this. This is just from my perspective, obviously. So I talked to a lot of friends of mine, but it's actually pretty similar. The trigger can be different for every person. Depends on what your problem is, depends on what actually bugs you. But your job is to identify in the moment this feeling comes up, to find the trigger and actually working with this feeling. Because the more you think about it, the more you find out where this trigger is, you can actually overcome it. This is the most important step to be able to overcome this feeling. And after you've done this, you're ready to actually work on it. I have a couple of tips for you guys to actually figure out what is your worth, what is good for you, and how this feeling can't really affect you in the future. All of these tips will help you with your self-confidence, and I'm telling you, this is a secret. If you're self-confident, nothing can touch you. Tip number 1, look back at all the achievements and things you have done so far. And those things can definitely be big things, like winning competitions and things like that. But do not dismiss smaller things as well. So doing recitals, good grades at school, all these small things will add up and help you see you have actually achieved a lot in your life. And if you're a content creator, and if you've done music videos, perfect. That's exactly what you have to look back on every once in a while. Listen back to your music, look at your videos you have produced, and think about what process went into doing all of these things. And you will soon see that you put a lot of work into this. This should boost your confidence and your morale. And I can tell you, this helps me. Even though I look back in the music I did in the past, it's definitely not perfect. But you can see, okay, that was you maybe 5 years ago, and you've developed so much since then. This gives me a huge boost in seeing, okay, I've actually evolved quite a lot. And that's already tip number 2, compare yourself carefully with your old self. And when I say carefully, I don't say putting yourself hard against yourself, but seeing, okay, where was I 5 years ago, and what have I actually learned in that time? And most likely you will see you have learned something. It doesn't have to be like a huge thing, it's just small steps we need. These small steps will show us, okay, we have actually done something in the last time frame. And even if you haven't done that much, don't worry, it's a whole journey. You have so much time ahead of you, so never dismiss that fact. And like I said, super important, small things make this, not big achievements, because I haven't won a Grammy. But I can tell you, I've done so many concerts in the meantime, which maybe don't mean that much, but I've learned from every concert, from every mistake, from everything I went through. That made me stronger and more knowledgeable about this whole thing. And tip number 3 is something that I actually use for myself. Maybe it helps you, but it helps me a lot. You can never be the best. So for me, I always thought I wanted to be the best. I always wanted to be the best piano player, the fastest player, be the most exciting. But I can tell you, if you have that standard, if you have that expectation, you will be disappointed. So I'd say try to be the best, but realize that you will never be the best, because there will always be someone who's better, who has more success, who has more money, or has a better career. That is super important, guys. Do not compare yourself to anybody else. It's you and your own journey. So I try not to have any expectations at all. I try to be the best, but I also know that I will never be the best. Tip number 4, be aware of your strengths and play in on them. Like I said before, every person is different and you have strengths. You maybe haven't discovered them yet, but that is your job to figure out what is your unique selling point. What is your strength, something nobody else has. And even if you can't find it in the moment, it's a journey. Like I said, it took time for me as well to find that strength. And turns out in college, I thought I had a lot of flaws, but those flaws actually were my strength. So strength could be maybe your technique, maybe your musicianship in general, maybe you have like a very good taste how to create melodies or how to create harmonies. Maybe you have exceptional rhythm, maybe you have good looks, maybe you're amazing at producing, or maybe you're in the right spot at the right time, because not a lot of people actually have that benefit. So if you live in a big city like Los Angeles or somebody else, leverage that, because I'm telling you, a lot of people would wish they could be there, but there are so many more. So how to figure that out? Well, educate yourself. Read books about art, read biographies about actually not only musicians, about painters, famous painters, because they went through this exact struggle, I'm telling you. And one last tip for you guys, tip number 5, find peers that actually support you. Sometimes you'll find yourself in a very hostile environment, so try to find peers you actually resonate with. Friends who actually love the style of music you do. As you may know, I grew up in Germany, and I grew up with R&B, hip-hop, and soul, that kind of music. It's not big in Germany. Even though people realize it and recognize it, but it's not really something people would pay for. So my goal was to try to find peers who actually love this kind of music as well. And I found a small group in Germany and we actually vibed super well. And once we did that, that gave me a huge confidence boost, because sometimes the external factors actually won't help you with that. So try to change your environment. Try to put yourself in a situation where you can leverage that. And for me, the ultimate task, it was a huge risk, I'm telling you guys, but it worked out, it paid off. I went to LA, and in LA, this kind of music is absolutely what everybody actually wants. So you don't really have to do in this grand scale to move to LA or to New York, but do it in your small community, because you can find people, you will find peers who actually think the same way. And by finding them, you'll actually push yourself very much. So these are some of the tips that actually helped me a lot get through these moments, but take this more as a guide for you. Maybe you can take something from this. Maybe you can take 1 or 2 tips and trying to find value to add to your life. Because in the end, we're doing art. Art is something absolutely valuable. Nobody actually has the right to judge it, I'm telling you guys. So everything you do has value. Remember that. That's super important. Our art is something special. It shouldn't be like scrutinized and like put down. We have to embrace it. We have to lift up ourselves, know what I mean? So I try to put some kind of positivity into this world. So hopefully you guys get some kind of value out of this. Thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoy this, please leave a like and subscribe. That would help out a lot. And if you want to learn more about music and how to produce, I have a video I did about mixing. So definitely check that one out. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Stay sane, make music. I'll see you soon. Peace.